Dr. Eliza Wright yawned as she walked into the control room of the SETI Research Center. The New Mexico morning was cool, and the desert sun had just begun to peek over the horizon. She placed her coffee mug on the desk and checked the overnight reports. Nothing unusual, as expected. 15 years of listening to space and not a single signal that couldn't be explained by natural phenomena or human satellites. She was about to start her daily system check when a rapid beeping sound came from the main computer. At first, she thought it was a malfunction. Equipment broke down often in the desert heat. But when she looked at the screen, her heart nearly stopped. The signal pattern was unlike anything she had ever seen. It repeated with perfect timing, too orderly to be random space noise. Eliza's hands shook as she pressed the emergency call button that would alert the entire team. "This better not be another false alarm," said Frank Nelson, her colleague and the center's skeptic, as he rushed in with messy hair and yesterday's clothes. But when he saw the screen, his mouth fell open. "Is that what I think it is?" he whispered. "A non-random signal from deep space," Eliza said, trying to keep her voice steady. "And it's aimed directly at Earth." Within hours, the quiet research center transformed into a hive of activity. Government officials arrived in black SUVs. News helicopters circled overhead, despite the no-fly zone that had been quickly established. Eliza found herself in meeting after meeting, explaining the signal to people who barely understood basic astronomy. "It's definitely artificial," she told the nervous faces around the conference table. "The pattern repeats exactly every 42.7 seconds. Nature doesn't work that way." "Could it be a hoax? Another country's satellite?" asked a man in a dark suit who hadn't bothered to introduce himself. "No," Eliza said firmly. "We've traced the signal. It's coming from a star system 42 light-years away. The signal has been traveling for 42 years just to reach us. What does it say?" asked General Patricia Young, the highest-ranking military officer present. The cryptolinguist Dr. Alan Palmer cleared his throat. "We believe it's a mathematical key, a Rosetta Stone of sorts. They're teaching us their language using universal concepts like prime numbers and physical constants." 3 days passed in a blur of code-breaking and debates. Sleep became a luxury that Eliza couldn't afford. The entire world now knew that humanity had received a message from the stars, but the contents remained classified. On the 4th day, they had their breakthrough. "It's an invitation," Dr. Palmer announced to the emergency committee. "They call themselves the Verilek. They want to meet with representatives from Earth." The room erupted in chaos. "It could be a trap," warned General Young. "Or the greatest opportunity in human history," countered Eliza. The debate reached the highest levels of government. World leaders held emergency sessions. For once, the planet's nations found common ground, curiosity and caution in equal measure. 1 week after the first signal, Eliza found herself summoned to Washington, D.C. She had never imagined that her work would lead her to the White House. "Situation room." "Dr. Wright," said the president, "you've spent your career searching for this exact scenario. We need your expertise now more than ever." Eliza nodded, trying to appear more confident than she felt. "I believe we should accept their invitation, but with proper safeguards." "And if they mean us harm?" asked the Secretary of Defense. "Then refusing won't protect us," Eliza replied simply. "A civilization capable of communicating across 42 light-years could destroy us without bothering with an introduction." 2 days later, the world watched as humanity sent its response. "We accept your invitation. Tell us how to proceed." The Verilek answered almost immediately. They had a ship near Mars orbit. They requested a small delegation to meet them there. The message included navigation coordinates and safety protocols. Selecting the delegation became a matter of intense political debate. Every nation wanted representation. Every field of science claimed essential expertise. In the end, practicality won out. A small team was formed: Dr. Eliza Wright to lead the scientific contingent, diplomat Keith Harrison to handle negotiations, General Patricia Young as military liaison, and cultural anthropologist Dr. Samuel Morris to help navigate the unknown social challenges. "Why me?" Eliza asked when she was officially offered the position. I'm just a radio astronomer. You're the one who found them, said the president. And more importantly, you understand better than anyone that this isn't just about science or politics. It's about humanity's place in the universe. The newly commissioned spacecraft USS Endeavour was quickly repurposed for the diplomatic mission. Originally designed for a Mars mission, it was the best option available for the 3-month journey to the meeting point. As the launch date approached, Eliza found herself standing at the observation deck of the Kennedy Space Center, staring up at the stars that had been her life's work. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her shoulders. 8 billion people were counting on her team to represent humanity in its first encounter with alien life. Nervous? Asked a voice beside her. It was Captain Laura Collins, the commander of the Endeavour. Terrified, Eliza admitted. What if I say the wrong thing? What if they're nothing like we expect? Laura smiled. No one is qualified for first contact, Dr. Wright. That's why we're sending a team, not just one person. We'll figure it out together. The day of launch dawned clear and bright. Crowds gathered to watch despite security concerns. The world held its breath as the countdown reached 0. The Endeavour lifted off in a column of fire and smoke, carrying humanity's representatives toward the greatest meeting in history. As Earth shrank to a blue dot behind them, Eliza sat at the viewport, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the Verilek were waiting. Why did they reach out now after all these years of silence? What did they want from Earth? She didn't know the answers yet, but humanity was finally about to take its place among the stars, ready or not. Life aboard the USS Endeavour quickly fell into a routine. 3 months was a long time to be confined in the spacecraft, even one as large as the Endeavour. The crew of 25 people each had their own small sleeping quarters, but they spent most of their waking hours training and preparing for the meeting with the Verilek. Captain Laura Collins ran daily drills to ensure everyone knew emergency procedures. She had been flying space missions for 15 years, but nothing had prepared her for this responsibility. Each night before sleep, she reviewed the mission protocols again, searching for any weakness or oversight. You're going to wear out that tablet, said Jack Boyd, the ship's chief engineer. He had stopped by her quarters with some technical reports. Laura smiled tiredly. Just being thorough. We can't afford mistakes. Jack nodded in understanding. At 45, he was the oldest member of the crew. His hands bore the scars of decades, working with machinery. The engines are running perfectly. We'll get there in one piece, Captain. In the communications lab, Dr. Eliza Wright worked with specialist Olivia Grant to better understand the Verilek language. The aliens had shared basic vocabulary and grammar in their transmissions, but learning to speak with a completely foreign species was no easy task. Their language seems to combine sounds with visual cues, Olivia said, pointing to the patterns on her screen. I think these light signals modify the meaning of their words. Eliza nodded. Like tone in human languages, but with light instead of sound changes. But how will we communicate those visual elements when we speak? The two women worked late into the night, developing a portable display system that could accompany their speech. Meanwhile, Dr. Samuel Morris devoured every bit of cultural information the Verilek had shared. Notice how all their art focuses on patterns, he said to Eliza during a meal break. No depictions of individuals, only groups or abstract designs. What do you think it means? Eliza asked. Perhaps they're a true hive mind. Or maybe individuality isn't valued in their culture. Either way, we should be careful not to emphasize personal achievement when we meet them. The weeks passed slowly. Earth grew smaller behind them until it was just another star in the black sky. News from home arrived daily. People holding vigils, praying for the mission's success, scientists debating what the aliens might want, conspiracy theorists warning of invasion plans. Halfway through their journey, the ship passed Mars. The red planet hung silently in space, watching them leave the safety of their solar system for the unknown. General Patricia Young spent her days reviewing security measures. Though she had agreed with the peaceful approach, she insisted on contingency plans. I hope we never need these, she told Keith Harrison, the diplomat, as they reviewed evacuation procedures. But hope isn't a strategy. Keith, with his calm demeanor and decades of international negotiation experience, often served as a balance to the general's caution. The Verilek could have harmed us long ago if that was their intention, he reminded her. They chose communication instead. As they neared the rendezvous point, tension aboard the ship grew. Sleep became difficult. Appetites diminished. Everyone felt the weight of history pressing down. 1 week to contact, Captain Collins announced during a crew meeting. From now on, we maintain full alert status. The crew doubled their preparations. The science team finalized their presentations about Earth and humanity. The medical team prepared for any possible contamination. The engineers checked every system repeatedly. Dr. Eliza Wright often found herself staring out viewports into the darkness of space. After a lifetime of searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence, she was about to meet actual aliens face to face. The reality of it sometimes made her dizzy. Scared? Asked Samuel, finding her alone late one night. Terrified, she admitted. What if we make a mistake? What if they're nothing like we imagine? That's why we're here, he said gently. Not because we know what to do, but because we're willing to try. 3 days before the scheduled meeting, their sensors detected something massive approaching. The crew rushed to their stations as Captain Collins called for calm. Let's not assume anything, she said firmly. Standard protocols, no aggressive moves. The object that appeared on their screens was unlike anything they had expected. Not a traditional spacecraft as humans understood them, but a massive structure of interconnected diamond-shaped sections, gleaming in the starlight. It was at least 5 times the size of the Endeavour, moving with impossible grace for something so large. No visible engines, reported Jack Boyd from engineering. No heat signatures we can detect. I have no idea how that thing moves. They're hailing us, Olivia called from communications. Standard frequency using the language patterns they taught us. The view screen activated, and for the first time, humanity saw a Verilek. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall with 4 symmetrical limbs and skin that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Its face had no nose but 3 eyes positioned in a triangle, and what appeared to be gill-like structures on its neck. The Verilek spoke, its voice melodic and strange, while patterns of light rippled across its skin. The computer translated, "We welcome Earth's representatives. We are pleased you have come." Captain Collins stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, we thank you for your invitation. We come in peace and friendship." The Verilek's skin flashed bright blue. "Your journey was long. Please rest. Tomorrow we will begin formal meetings. We have prepared a compatible environment within our vessel." After the transmission ended, the crew stood in stunned silence. The reality of alien contact had finally hit home. They were 40 light-years from Earth, face to face with a civilization that had mastered technologies humans could barely comprehend. "Well," said General Young, breaking the silence, "they seem polite enough." A nervous laugh rippled through the crew, releasing some tension. That night, no one slept much. They were too busy preparing for the next day, when humans would step foot on an alien vessel for the first time in history. Whatever the Verilek wanted from Earth, they would soon find out. As Eliza finally drifted to sleep, she wondered, of all the planets in the galaxy, why had these advanced beings reached out to Earth? What could humanity possibly offer a civilization that traveled between stars? The answer, when it finally came, would surprise everyone. Morning came too quickly for the Endeavour's crew. They gathered in the ship's conference room for final preparations before boarding the Verilek vessel. Captain Laura Collins looked at each face around the table. Despite their training, fear and excitement showed clearly in their eyes. "Remember your training," she said calmly. "No sudden movements. Follow diplomatic protocols. And most importantly, stay together." The boarding party would be small. Dr. Eliza Wright, Diplomat Keith, Harrison, General Patricia Young, Dr. Samuel Morris, and Captain Collins herself. The rest of the crew would remain aboard the Endeavour, maintaining constant communication. "The shuttle is ready," reported Jack Boyd through the intercom. "All systems check out perfectly. They dressed in their formal uniforms, each representing their field and Earth as a whole. No weapons were allowed despite General Young's protests. Keith Harrison had been firm on this point. They would approach the aliens with open hands and peaceful intentions. The small shuttle departed from the Endeavor, crossing the short distance to the massive alien structure. Up close, the diamond-shaped section seemed to pulse with inner light, like a living thing breathing slowly. "Look," whispered Samuel, pointing to the surface. "Those aren't metal plates. I think the entire ship is made of some kind of crystal." As they approached, an opening appeared in the side of the vessel. The shuttle's instruments confirmed that the atmosphere inside was compatible with human breathing, though slightly richer in oxygen. "They've been studying us for some time," Eliza noted. "They've created an environment specifically for our comfort." The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. The crew took deep breaths as the airlock cycled. When the door finally opened, they stepped into alien territory for the first time in human history. The interior of the Verilek ship was unlike anything they had imagined. The walls curved in strange angles, glowing with soft light that seemed to come from within the material itself. The floor felt slightly springy under their feet, absorbing their steps like moss. Standing at the end of the corridor was the alien they had seen on the view screen, along with two others. Up close, the Verileks were even more impressive. Their skin shifted colors constantly, displaying patterns of light that flowed like liquid across their bodies. They stood completely still, watching the humans approach with their three triangular eyes. The center alien stepped forward. "I am called Horizon," it said, its voice musical and strange while lights rippled across its skin. The translator in Eliza's ear rendered the words into English. "I will be your guide and ambassador. These are my associates whom you may call Depth and Resonance." Keith Harrison stepped forward and bowed slightly. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we thank you for your invitation. I am Keith Harrison and these are my colleagues." He introduced each member of the team. The aliens watched intently, their skin flashing different colors as each person was named. "Please follow," said Horizon, turning smoothly to lead them deeper into the ship. They walked through corridors that sometimes widened into vast chambers filled with strange crystalline structures. Occasionally they passed other Verileks who stopped to observe the humans with obvious curiosity. "How many of your kind live on this vessel?" asked Samuel. 217, replied Horizon. "This is a small exploration ship by our standards." They were led to a large circular room with a table-like structure in the center. The walls displayed moving images of what appeared to be the Verilek homeworld. Cities built into massive crystal formations, oceans of purple liquid, and skies filled with multiple moons. "We have prepared this space for our discussions," said Horizon. "Please be comfortable." The humans sat at the table, which adjusted to better fit their height. Servants, or perhaps robots, it was hard to tell, brought containers of water and what appeared to be food. "We have analyzed your nutritional needs," Wise explained Horizon. "These substances will provide energy without harm." Cautiously, the humans sampled the offerings. The food was bland but not unpleasant, with a texture like firm gelatin. "Now," said Horizon, its skin turning a deep blue, "we should begin our exchange of information. We have many questions about Earth." For the next several hours, the meeting followed diplomatic protocols. The humans presented information about Earth's nations, sciences, and history, carefully selected to show humanity in a positive but honest light. They explained Earth's diversity of cultures, languages, and beliefs. In return, the Verileks shared information about their civilization. They came from a binary star system with 3 habitable planets. Their species had achieved space travel over 1,000 years ago and had explored dozens of nearby star systems. Their technology included gravity manipulation, near light-speed travel, and energy generation methods humanity had only theorized about. But as the day progressed, Eliza noticed something odd. The Verilek seemed particularly interested whenever the conversation turned to human creativity. When Samuel displayed examples of Earth art from different cultures and time periods, the alien skin flashed with intense patterns. These images were created as expressions of individual imagination, asked Depth, speaking for the first time. Yes, Samuel replied. Human artists create to express emotions, ideas, or simply for the joy of creation itself. The three Verilex exchanged rapid flashes of light between themselves, a private conversation the translators couldn't capture. And your music? Asked Horizon. We have detected many transmissions containing organized sound patterns. Keith nodded to Olivia Grant, who had joined them later in the day. She played selections of music from different cultures: classical symphonies, jazz, traditional folk songs, and modern pop music. The reaction was immediate. The Verilex skin displayed cascades of color, pulsing with the rhythm of the music. More Verilex entered the room, drawn by the sounds. They stood completely still, their bodies glowing with shifting patterns as they listened. When the music ended, there was a long silence. This ability to create new patterns, said Horizon. Finally, it is common among your species. Yes, replied Eliza. Almost all humans create in some way, whether through visual arts, music, storytelling, or other means. Fascinating, said Resonance, its voice barely above a whisper. Truly remarkable. As the first day of meetings came to an end, the humans returned to their shuttle, tired but excited by the successful contact. Did you notice how interested they were in our art and music? Samuel asked as they traveled back to the Endeavor. Eliza nodded. Much more than our science or technology. I wonder why. Captain Collins looked thoughtful. Tomorrow, let's focus more on human creativity. I think we've found something they truly value. None of them could have guessed just how important that observation would prove to be. The second day of meetings began with a change of plans. Based on the Verilex reaction to human creativity, Captain Collins had asked the Endeavor to send over additional materials about Earth's arts, literature, and entertainment. We noticed your interest in our creative expressions, Keith Harrison said as they settled into the meeting room. We thought you might appreciate seeing more examples. Horizon's skin rippled with bright yellow patterns. That would be most welcome. The humans had prepared a comprehensive presentation. Dr. Samuel Morris showed cave paintings from prehistoric humans, Egyptian hieroglyphics, Renaissance masterpieces, modern abstract art, and digital creations. Olivia Grant played music from around the world and throughout history, and Eliza Wright shared stories, myths, and legends from different cultures. The Verilex watched and listened with intense focus. More of them gathered in the room as word spread about the presentation. Soon nearly 30 aliens stood around the humans, their skin displaying complex patterns of light that seemed to reflect their emotions. Your species creates these constantly? Asked Depth after watching a short animated film. New stories, new images, new sounds. Yes, replied Samuel. Humans have always created art. Even children naturally draw, sing, and tell stories. Fascinating, said Resonance. And improbable. After the presentation, there was a long pause. The three main Verilex representatives appeared to be communicating silently among themselves, their skin flashing in complex patterns. Finally, Horizon turned to the humans. We believe it is time to share the true purpose of our contact with Earth, it said. The room fell silent as all the humans leaned forward, eager to finally learn why these advanced aliens had reached out to their planet. Our civilization is very old by your standards, Horizon began. We achieved space travel over 1,000 of your years ago. We have colonized several star systems. We have conquered disease, extended our lifespans, and developed technologies your scientists have only begun to theorize about. Horizon paused, its skin turning a deep purple. But we face a crisis that threatens our continued existence as a species. Not war or environmental disaster, but something far more fundamental. What kind of crisis? Asked General Young, her voice tense. Our evolution took a different path than yours, explained Horizon. Our brains developed with exceptional logical and analytical capabilities. This allowed us to advance quickly in science and technology. We can solve complex mathematical problems instantly. We can remember vast amounts of information with perfect recall. We can build machines of incredible precision. The alien's skin darkened to an almost black purple. But there was a cost to this evolutionary path. Our species lacks something your kind possesses in abundance: imagination. The humans exchanged confused glances. I don't understand, said Eliza. You've built incredible technology. You've traveled between stars. How could you do that without imagination? We can refine, explained Depth. We can improve existing designs through logical iteration. We can combine known principles in predictable ways, but we cannot truly create something new. For thousands of years, this limitation did not hinder us, continued Horizon. We advanced by making small improvements to existing knowledge. But eventually we reached a plateau. Our progress slowed, then stopped. For the past 300 years, our civilization has been unable to solve new problems or develop truly novel technologies. Resonance stepped forward. Our art is technically perfect but lacks what you would call inspiration. Our literature records facts but cannot invent new stories. Our music follows mathematical patterns but creates no emotional response. The humans sat in stunned silence as the aliens revealed their weakness. Then we discovered your broadcasts, said Horizon, its voice taking on an almost reverent tone. The signals your planet has been sending into space for decades. At first, we simply noted them as evidence of a developing technological species, but then our linguists decoded your television and radio transmissions. Your stories caught our attention, added Depth. They made no logical sense. Characters behaved in unpredictable ways. Events occurred that defied probability. Yet they created responses in us, reactions we had never experienced before. We began to study Earth more intensely, said Horizon. We monitored your broadcasts, analyzed your internet data streams, and eventually sent probes to observe your planet from a distance. What we found was astonishing. A species that seemed to value imagination as highly as logic, creativity as much as precision. Eliza felt a chill run down her spine as she began to understand. You came to Earth because of our stories? Our art? Our music? Yes, confirmed Horizon. What your species creates so naturally, so effortlessly, is precisely what our civilization lacks: the ability to imagine new possibilities, to dream of things that do not exist and then bring them into being, to think in ways that are not bound by logic or precedent. The room fell silent as the humans processed this revelation. The advanced aliens, with their incredible technology and thousand-year head start in space exploration, had come to Earth, not as conquerors or saviors, but as students. We propose an exchange, said Horizon. We will share our scientific and technological knowledge with humanity. In return, we ask that you teach us to think as you do, to imagine, to create, to dream. General Young leaned forward. That's it? That's all you want from us? It is everything we need, replied Horizon simply. Without it, our civilization will continue to stagnate until we fade into extinction. We can extend our lives and maintain our technology, but we cannot grow or adapt or evolve without the spark of creativity. Keith Harrison, ever the diplomat, spoke carefully. Such an exchange would need to be discussed with our governments. There are complex implications to consider. Of course, agreed Horizon. We anticipated this. We are prepared to demonstrate our goodwill by sharing some technological knowledge immediately, as a show of trust. What kind of technology? Asked Captain Collins. Medical advances that could eliminate several human diseases, energy generation methods that do not damage your environment, material science that could revolutionize your manufacturing capabilities. The humans exchanged glances. The offer was incredibly generous, perhaps too generous. And in return, pressed Eliza. What exactly would we be teaching you? Horizon's skin rippled with soft blue light. How to tell a story that has never been told before. How to create music that moves the listener to tears. How to imagine possibilities beyond logical prediction. In short, how to think like humans. As the meeting ended and the humans returned to their shuttle, they were unusually quiet. The revelation had stunned them all. They could have taken what they wanted, said Samuel finally. They've been monitoring our broadcasts, our internet. They could have stolen our creative works without ever revealing themselves. Instead, they came to us openly, said Eliza. They're asking for permission, for collaboration. Captain Collins looked out the shuttle window at the crystal ship glowing against the darkness of space. The question is, are we willing to share our secret weapon with them? None of them had an answer yet, but they all knew that when they returned to Earth, they would be bringing home a proposal that would change both civilizations forever. The return journey to Earth felt much shorter than the trip out. The USS Endeavour raced back toward the blue planet with its crew both excited and worried about the message they carried. Dr. Eliza Wright spent most of her time reviewing the data and gifts the Verilex had shared as a show of good faith. This medical information alone could save millions of lives, she told Captain Laura Collins as they looked through the files. Their understanding of cellular repair could help us cure several types of cancer, and their clean energy technology would solve our climate crisis, added Jack Boyd from engineering. I've been studying these designs. They're elegant, efficient, and completely clean. Yet despite the incredible value of these gifts, the crew remained divided about the Verilex proposal. It feels wrong to give away what makes us human, said General Young during one of their nightly meetings. Our creativity is our greatest strength. Should we really share it with another species? They're not asking us to give it away, countered Samuel Morris. They want to learn from us, to understand how we think. It's not like creativity is a limited resource that will run out if we share it. Keith Harrison, ever the diplomat, tried to find middle ground. Perhaps we could start with a limited exchange program, a few human teachers working with selected Verilex. We could control what knowledge is shared while building trust between our species. As Earth grew larger in their viewports, the debate continued. No one had a perfect answer, but they all understood the weight of the decision they were bringing home. When the Endeavour finally landed back on Earth, the crew was surprised by their reception. They had expected government officials and scientists, but instead found themselves greeted by crowds of ordinary people carrying signs of welcome and support. The news of the alien contact had captured the world's imagination. For the next month, the crew attended endless debriefings and meetings. They testified before the United Nations, spoke with scientific committees, and answered questions from world leaders. Every detail of their encounter with the Verilex was examined and discussed. The public reaction to the Verilex proposal was mixed. Many people welcomed the idea of sharing human creativity in exchange for advanced alien technology. Others feared a trick or trap, warning that humanity should be cautious about any deal with a species so much more advanced than their own. Religious leaders debated the spiritual implications. Scientists argued about the potential benefits and risks. Artists and writers were both flattered and concerned by the aliens' interest in their work. Through it all, Eliza found herself becoming the strongest advocate for accepting the Verilex offer. At a crucial UN meeting, she stood before the world's representatives to make her case. The Verilex could have taken what they wanted without ever revealing themselves to us, she said, her voice firm despite her nervousness. They could have continued monitoring our broadcasts and internet, stealing our creative works. Instead, they approached us openly and honestly, acknowledging their own limitation and offering a fair exchange. She paused, looking around at the doubtful faces. Some fear that by teaching them creativity, we might help them become more dangerous. But I spent days talking with Horizon and the other Verilex. They value harmony and cooperation. They have existed for thousands of years, without the wars and conflicts that mark human history. What if this is simply the first step toward invasion? Asked one skeptical representative. They already have the technology to destroy us if that was their intention, Eliza replied. They don't need our creativity to build better weapons. They need it to grow, to evolve, to find new solutions to problems we can't even imagine. After 3 months of debate, the United Nations finally reached a decision. Humanity would accept the Verilex proposal, but with careful guidelines and limits. A cultural exchange program would be established, starting small and growing as trust developed between the species. 1 year later, the first joint human Verilex research center was built on Europa, Jupiter's moon. The neutral location satisfied those who worried about bringing aliens directly to Earth or sending too many humans to Verilek ships. Eliza was among the first humans selected to work at the new facility. As she stepped off the transport ship onto the icy moon's surface, she marveled at the structure before her. The research center was a beautiful blend of human and Verilek architecture, practical human designs, enhanced by the crystalline materials, and flowing lines of Verilek construction. Inside, human artists, writers, musicians, and dreamers worked alongside Verilek scientists and engineers. The early days were awkward as the two species learned to communicate and understand each other better, but slowly, something remarkable began to happen. The Verileks, exposed to human creativity, began to change. Their thinking became less rigid. They started to ask what-if questions that had never occurred to their species before. Some even began to create simple art and music of their own, primitive by human standards but revolutionary for their kind. At the same time, human scientists working with Verilek technology made breakthrough after breakthrough. Medical advances eliminated diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. New energy systems replaced polluting technologies. Materials stronger and lighter than anything on Earth revolutionized construction and manufacturing. 5 years after the first contact, Eliza stood with Horizon on an observation deck overlooking Europa's icy plains. The alien skin glowed with soft blue and green patterns. Colors that Eliza had learned indicated contentment and hope. "Your species has given mine a future we could not imagine before," said Horizon. "We had mastered space and time, but you have taught us to master possibility." Eliza smiled. "And your knowledge has helped humanity solve problems we might have struggled with for centuries. Both our civilizations are stronger now." "There is something I wish to show you," said Horizon. The alien held out a small crystal device that projected a three-dimensional image in the air between them. It was a simple design, flowing lines and patterns that shifted and changed in ways that reminded Eliza of ocean waves. "Did you create this?" she asked, surprised. "Yes," replied Horizon, its skin flashing with what Eliza recognized as pride. "It is not very sophisticated by human standards, but it is entirely original. The first truly creative work of my life." As news of the successful partnership spread across the galaxy, other alien civilizations took notice. Some were cautious, others curious. Within a decade, Earth found itself at the center of a growing network of interstellar relationships. Humanity had found its unique place in the cosmic community, not as the most technologically advanced species, nor the oldest or wisest, but as the storytellers of the stars, the dreamers who could imagine what had never been and inspire others to build it. And it all began because aliens reached out to Earth for the most surprising reason of all. They needed human creativity to save themselves.